Okay, back again. I was reviewing what I just told you, and I realized that I think I referred to Julian Simon. I misspoke and called him Julian Stewart because I have anthropology on the mind, on the brain. But that was Julian Simon that actually talked about that idea of the principle of substitutability. So sorry about that. I wasn't going to do the whole thing over again. I'm not very good at this. I realize that, but it's what I have, so we'll keep going. Okay. All right. Just hang with me. Just hang in there. All right. So last time I said we were going to talk about Esther Boserup. All right. So she has a little bit more of a, I guess I would call it a temperate temperate argument for how population growth can, in some circumstances, produce technological change. I think that sounds very reasonable. You know, um, even if we went back to like I said, I got anthropology on the brain, right? So, um, you know, Marshall Solins and the original Affluent Society talked about how rising populations of hunter gatherers led to the need for a technological innovation, and that was going to be the domestication revolution and the invention of horticulture. So it makes a certain amount of sense, right? That in some circumstances, population growth will produce technological change. But she says that population pressure can be or is an important factor in stimulating the adoption of more productive farm techniques and practices. Now, Thomas Malthus believed that population pressure reduced the availability of food, but Boserup was saying that population pressure can provide the incentive to switch to more intensive farming methods, right? So that makes a certain amount of sense, right? Population pressure can lead to or provide a sort of incentive for people to switch to more intensive farming methods. And even if we went back, I said I was going to touch on that little quote from Marx a few times, and while he wasn't necessarily talking about population growth, I mean, one of the things we were saying when we were describing, or when I was reading you that quote from Marx that I started with, is that population was shifting, right? So a lot of population was moving to the cities during industrialization, and so it was that movement of population to the cities, and maybe the depletion of population in the countryside that was led to the incentive, right, for technological innovations in agriculture, including things like the mechanization of farm production eventually, but also even in Marx's time, the introduction of chemical fertilizers and so on. All right, so there's Esther Boserup, who is telling us that population pressure reduces or population pressure provides an incentive, right, to switch to more intensive farming techniques. And we actually call that the Boserup effect, right? The population pressure leads to the adoption of more intensive farming techniques. And we're gonna talk a little bit more about that. All right. So she says, however, right, this is a really important thing. She says, technological change is not the same as innovation. Okay, that's an important line. Technological change is not the same as technological innovation, right? In other words, population pressure might provide the incentive to adopt technologies that were developed somewhere else. Population pressure might provide an incentive to adopt technologies that were developed something else. And so the adoption of those technologies is technological change, but it's not technological innovation. It's not the creation of a brand new technology, right? So, so again, population pressure may provide the incentive to adopt technologies that were developed elsewhere. And we're going to see in a little while the impact, right, of adopting technologies that were developed elsewhere and perhaps don't fit the conditions under which the people who adopt them or the people who have those technologies pushed on them live, don't really match those conditions. Okay. So, continuing here, most of the time societies advance technologically not through innovation, but by using technologies that were already in use someplace else. That's what Boserup is saying. Now we can also add to that. We bring back the inequality argument, right? And understand that inequality can also limit the influence of this Boserup effect. And we'll have an example of that too. How come? Well, because let's say that farmers in a let's say we have a third world country, right? And that there's a shift toward a more capital intensive type of agriculture. That's going to require a greater investment of capital that farmers maybe don't have, right? So the investments required to increase the intensity of production might actually price a lot of these poorer farmers, right, out of the market, and actually put farmers out of work. And that could have the impact of increasing poverty and increasing inequality and bringing new kinds of problems with it. All right, so we're gonna stop there. We're gonna take a little break here, okay, while you mull all that over. All right, and so we'll see you back here in a little bit. I'm gonna go grab myself a cup of Joe, and see you back here in just a little while. All right.